So, quick little disclaimer before you listen to this episode. It was sent to me a couple weeks before the COVID restrictions or lockdowns were lifted here in Vancouver, BC. And then it took me a while to actually get around to recording a response to this, unfortunately. To the point where I was sitting down and editing this just now, and I was thinking, is this, still really even relevant because lockdowns are kind of over here. And, I thought I would just release this episode anyways because I think that these impacts that we deal with in terms of like our mental health are going to be lasting. Like they are going to take a while to first, A, manifest fully, and then B, for people to actually start to recover and heal from the damage that they might have gone through if they've suffered from any mental health or any, issues related to that because of these like restrictions and lockdowns. So I thought that I would just release this episode so that people kind of understand that no matter what they are dealing with, they're not alone. But also, in case that they ever lock us down again, this is just kind of a good way to kind of view it. So, I hope that you don't take too much offense from this episode. I hope that it just kind of shares a different perspective, kind of a danger that people haven't really been talking about too much because of these lockdowns and this pandemic. Obviously, physical health is a huge concern, but nobody's really having a mental health conversation. So I thought that I'd have that right now. And I'm thankful that this person asked this question. So without further ado, welcome to the show. I hope you enjoy it. Let's go, baby.
That means I'm moving. I made a few mistakes, but I'm improving. I'm human, but I've been making daily resolutions. I got to. You might do it different, but I'm not you.
Hey, Mark.
I'm self-made. I'm
Hey, Mark.
doing things that
Hey,
I was
Mark.
never taught.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's up? What is going on? I hope you're having a good day. I'm having a pretty good day. I just want to jump on here and say, welcome to Hey Mark, the podcast where I, Mark, get to have open and authentic conversations about things like mental health, self-development, the things that we go through on a daily basis, but don't get to talk about on a daily basis. They don't really come up in regular, everyday conversations. And for that reason, I want to start these conversations around things that might be stigmatized or difficult to talk about or just don't really get spoken about very often. And the reason I want to do that is because I want you to understand, listening to this, that no matter what you're dealing with, no matter what you're thinking about, what you're struggling with, what thoughts are running through your brain, you are not alone. And life can and will get better for you. And so, this segment, what would Mark do? You've probably heard it before, but if you haven't, then this is the segment where you can send in a clip, maybe of you asking a question, maybe bragging about a little victory in your life recently, or maybe just opening up about a struggle or asking about a friend's struggle. Maybe, a friend of yours or a loved one might be going through some struggles and, maybe they're not voicing it, but you know about it and, you want to get some more insight on how you can help them out. And so let's jump into today's clip and I'll do my very best to give you my 2 cents. And you can let me know what you think in the comment section below if you're watching the video version of this on, Instagram or YouTube or any other social media platform. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this, feel free to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Let's roll today's clip and see what I think. Let's go.
Hey Mark, I wanted to jump on here and ask you your thoughts considering you're advocating for mental health. I wanted to know your thoughts regarding the COVID-19 lockdowns and guidelines BC has been put under for the past year and a bit. This year, the Kids Help Phone has received over 4 million calls. The year before was only 1.9 million calls. So we can see it's almost doubled due to the pandemic and the measures that are being implemented upon us. I was just wondering what your thoughts are about this, why the media is being so silent, considering it's causing major mental health issues, mass overdose, suicides, and etc. Thanks.
All right, first things first, that's probably the cutest thing I've ever heard. Can we just hear that voice one more time? That was like literally the sweetest thing I've ever heard. Let's play that one more time.
Overdose, suicides, and etc. Thanks.
Okay, seriously, is that the cutest fucking thing in the world? Can we play that one more time?
overdose, suicides, and etc. Thanks.
Jesus Christ, man. That is fucking cute. All right. The question, though, that's fucking heavy. Okay, so, yeah, no, let's jump right into this. What do I think in regards of the impacts of, the lockdowns that we went through here in Vancouver and BC specifically, and how they impact, our mental health? I think that that's a serious conversation to have. I think that's an important conversation to have. Stigmatized, and it's not really talked about. Like you said, the media is kind of not talking about it very clearly. And I guess I'll address that first, because that's kind of the easier thing to explain, and then I'll jump into what I think in regards to the impacts of these lockdowns on our mental health. So why is nobody talking about this in the media? Why is mental health and the increase of depression and anxiety medication being prescribed to people is skyrocketing? The amount of calls going to, like you said, the Children's Help Phone and the crisis hotlines, those are skyrocketing. We're seeing domestic abuse skyrocketing. We're seeing all these different things that impact our mental health, whether it comes to depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, or copious amounts of other things that you could be suffering with in your own head. And the reason why nobody in the mainstream media is talking about this is because it's not sexy. It's not like a cool, hot story. It's not controversial. It's just upsetting. And it's a call to action that they'd actually have to take. All of these other things, what happens in the media basically is they take a polarizing or a controversial topic, make it even more polarizing by over-explaining one point of view, creating a straw man argument for the opposing point of view, making them seem stupid, and then creating these weird little echo chambers where people only hear one side of a perspective, which polarizes society even more. And then furthermore, they're not given any call to action. They're not given any direction on how they could actually react to these crises, or I guess crises, that we're going through, other than just to snitch on each other, ridicule each other, belittle each other on social media. And then that kind of stuff is actually celebrated in society. We celebrate canceling each other and shaming each other. We don't actually celebrate, educating each other, teaching each other, being empathetic for each other, being compassionate for each other, and actually getting to the truth. Because anytime anybody questions anything, they're faced with, being labeled as an extremist on either side. I'm not saying that one side is right and one side is wrong. I think everybody's fucked up right now, and I think that everyone's being a bit of an idiot, because all of us are losing sight of what the actual end goal is, which is to be healthy, happy, successful, and to keep living our lives the best way that we possibly can, while ensuring that everyone around us feels happy, comfortable, and safe, and feels like they have a fair shot of winning this game of life as well. And so that kind of covers why it's not on, the mainstream media's hit list of fucking stories to talk about, is because it's not sexy and it doesn't fulfill their agenda of keeping your attention, keeping you pissed off, keeping you emotionally triggered, and keeping you paying their bills by just sticking around on social media and being addicted to your TV. So it's an advertising thing, and it's just not a hot topic. It doesn't capture attention as much as the violence and hatred that we see all the time on mainstream media. So my biggest recommendation is, if you watch mainstream media, probably don't. And just have a little bit of compassion and basically try and find the truth. And then once you find your truth, understand that other people are going to have their own truth, and respect them and love them the best that you possibly can. That's the only way to deal with any situation like this, and try and pursue, happiness and success. And so what do I think are the actual impacts of these lockdowns? Well, we're seeing businesses being shut down. That's the entire livelihood of some people's, family businesses that maybe have been passed down from generation to generation, or maybe someone that, dumped their entire life savings into starting something. They're probably crushed in terms of small businesses. If you have like a restaurant or a small little, convenience store, etc., your business was probably crushed, which can be pretty demoralizing and can impact their family in copious amounts of ways. You're seeing people that are kind of, ostracized or alienated on social media, that probably impacts them in a certain way. But I think that the main concern in terms of, mental health is the social isolation and the division and separation between people in society. We're seeing so many people being emotionally divided between, people that they used to call friends and family members and loved ones. They're now ridiculing online and calling them sheep or assholes and insensitive and saying that they, don't care about other people. And it's, in my eyes, the division and the social isolation and the emotional isolation that is really impacting a lot of people. The people that are being impacted the most, and this is just kind of like my opinion, my like anecdotal guess, the people that are being impacted the most are probably the people that don't have, such support groups, like I'm saying, people that are a little bit more isolated than regulars, and, they don't really have anyone to talk about their thoughts with, and, they're probably just confused trying to find the truth because they see, things on social media and on the news where, either side is being, like I said, ridiculed for being too stupid or ignorant or, too lazy to find the truth or whatever it could be, whatever hatred or weird labels you want to attach to people. It's very confusing because you see both sides being ridiculed this way in such an extreme way that you start to almost doubt your own thoughts. You start to wonder and be confused about what is true, what you should be doing, how you should be behaving. And then on top of all that, the restrictions themselves. Like I said, locking people down, telling them to stay home, not to see their loved ones and friends and family members. I think that a one-size-fit-all solution is obviously the wrong answer, because if you take 10 people and they all have a similar problem, they're not going to have similar solutions. Everyone's life is so different and there's so many different factors. For a government to enforce an entire one-size-fit-all on an entire province or an entire nation is a little bit ridiculous in my eyes. And so personally, in my opinion, I think that a more targeted lockdown would have been a better way to go about this pandemic. But, with all these different things coming out in the news, there's so many different things being updated on a daily basis. It's almost difficult to see what the right solution would have been, and how we could have actually dealt with this more properly. But I think that you are 100% right in the sense that regardless of how you feel about lockdowns and how this entire pandemic was treated by governments, businesses, individuals, etc., social media outlets even, regardless of how you feel about how this has been treated, it's very evident that the repercussions of it have wreaked havoc on our mental health as a society. So what's the solution for that? I don't even know. I don't have a solution yet, other than just to be a little bit more compassionate and be a little bit more understanding and be a little bit open-minded. Don't get so dead set on what you think is the truth, because there's new things coming out every single day, especially in regards to this pandemic, where none of us even know what the fucking truth is. All of us think we do, and we call everyone else that thinks differently idiots, but none of us know what's actually going on. There's so much smoke and mirrors that, I think the best way to deal with something like this is just to have compassion, have empathy, and understand that, you maybe, actually, yeah, this is a perfect example of the fact that you don't always know what the truth is in life, and you don't always know what to do. But the best way to go about this is to assume that, maybe you don't have the answers, and to just have compassion and empathy and understand that people are going to have different values and beliefs than you. But at the end of the day, we all want to connect and just find happiness and success. And furthermore, if you are dealing with something, if you are struggling with something, if you're dealing with, mental health issues, and if you've had mental illness issues in the past, maybe your depression has gotten worse or your anxiety has gotten worse. Maybe you've, developed a little bit of PTSD because of some events that have happened, because we have had a hike in, domestic abuse and tons of things that have been happening in the households that, maybe have impacted people in a way that they are dealing with some trauma now. If you are dealing with something from your household or in your own head, you need to be able to talk about it. And that's exactly what this podcast is, trying to incentivize you to do, is to talk about the things that are difficult in your life. Talk about the things that are making you suffer. Find some loved ones. And if you don't, I think this is a great opportunity for any entrepreneurs out there that, maybe have their counseling license or have been studying psychology. If you're starting a practice of counseling or any mental health service, this is a great opportunity for you, because there's so many people that are suffering out there that need your help. So if you know anybody on Instagram, if you know anybody that's a counselor or a doctor that can help you out, or help out anybody in the community, please comment them below, tag them below if you're watching the YouTube version of this, or any version on social media, on Instagram or anything. Tag them down below in the comment section so people can have some resources. If you know any mental health resources, comment them below. Let's start this conversation of, how have these things impacted your mental health, and what are some ways or resources that we can start to improve these conversations in our lives, right? I know there's plenty of online resources, so please, I urge you, if you are struggling with anything, start talking. You can message me on any social media app. I'm not a counselor or anything, but I will lend an ear to anybody that is struggling, because I fucking love you and I would hate for anything to happen. I'd rather listen to your problems now than listen to your eulogy later on. And I sincerely mean that. I know it gets thrown around on social media all the time, but I seriously fucking mean that. And if you don't want to message me, you can message literally anyone you love, anyone that you trust, or go online and find a resource for counseling, or just to be able to speak to somebody that you can, like I said, know and love and trust. And don't stay silent. Don't stay silent, because that is what's going to hurt the very most, is feeling like you're isolated, feeling like you can't speak about these things, feeling like having these thoughts is not natural, feeling like you're the only one that has these thoughts, feeling like your struggle is so isolated and that you might be the only one dealing with whatever problem you're dealing with. And so I hope this helps give you a new perspective, maybe gives you some insight, or I guess I just wanted to share my, 2 cents on how this has kind of impacted our mental health, and the best way to deal with it, which is with love and compassion and openness for people that, have different belief systems or have different ideas or opinions on some of these topics. That doesn't make them the enemy. It's just another human. Majority of people are going to be different than you in one way or another, because we are such different beings, and there's so many different ways and, spectrums of these different ideas that you're going to come across so many different people that have differences than you. And this isn't a new concept. It's just something that we have to be empathetic towards. So thank you so much for your support. I hope this episode, actually, I don't even think this was controversial at all. So if you think this is controversial, I don't know what the fuck to say to you. Thank you so much for listening to this. Thank you so much for the love and the support. That's all I got for today. Much love and peace out.